Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another Confab episode. This one is with my good friend Kerim. He's been on twice before, both with very different subjects. In the last one we covered all the different types of crazy drugs and mixes you could ever take to see aliens and entities and gods, and some of Kerim's personal experiences. In this one we cover health. Quite different, isn't it? But the common theme here is Kerim fucking loves drugs. Now, the drugs we're talking about in this episode are to help enhance your health and strength and testosterone levels and everything else. And although he is a very weird cunt, he's quite smart. He does a lot of research and really digs deep into this stuff. So I think you're going to really enjoy this. Anyone who is looking to improve themselves physically, this could be a very good show for you. One thing I'll mention is we didn't go into a huge amount of detail on why you might want to increase your testosterone levels, or at least bring them up to a good level. You can do your research on this. There's many positives that come from this. We talked more about how to achieve it than why you should. But we've also said that you can ask any questions in the boosts or XMR chats, and me and Kerim will go through all of those on the next episode. Quick thank you to our show sponsors, Foundation and Cake Wallet. Foundation make my favourite hardware. It's beautifully designed, it's fully open source, and it is fuckwit resistant. I use this all the time, literally every day at the moment. The more I use it, the more I love it. It's so simple, and it has an incredible team behind it. They're always building, they're always adding features. They have a new device coming out very, very soon. I think within the next couple of weeks. If you want to take your security seriously, this really is the best way to go. Check them out at foundation.xyz, and you can use the code Ungovernable for a discount. Thank you also to Cake Wallet for sponsoring the show, and not just sponsoring the show, but everything that they do for the privacy space. I chatted at length with Q&A and Seth on the last couple of episodes about PayJoin V2. They've brought that to the wallet. They are the first to do it, and hopefully many more follow suit. But they're always thinking out the box and making Bitcoin and Monero usable for their users. You can do swaps, you can buy gift cards, you can use multi-currency. The UX is incredibly slick, and with over 500,000 users and growing all the time, the proof is in the pudding. If you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me, but go and check it out. You can use this on any operating system, download it from any of the app stores, or use the APK. Start using it today and start actually using your cryptocurrency. cakewallet.com. Finally, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been boosting and supporting the show. I'll read the top boosts. Late Stage Huddle with 100,000 sats. #Free Samurai. 8 Mithrandir with 7,777 sats. #Free Samurai. Time Sloth with 3,249 sats. My time preference was too high. I couldn't wait to boost, so I prematurely sent sats before listening. Comment after listening. No additional sats boosted. Note from Expatriotic. Rest of it was good listen, eye-opening to think about the surveillance state and how many people are just already brainwashed into thinking it's normalcy, but don't realise the tyranny such a state brings. Yeah, exactly. Turkey with 500 sats, Riavan Stokes with 500 sats, and Paiser de Pleb with 100 sats. Sometimes lightning is a bit shitty, but you're a crybaby cunt about it most of the time, Max. Overall, Lightning is excellent. Would you rather people snail mail you pennies and nickels? Question mark, question mark, question mark. The XMR chats, Schrodinger sent 0.014727711. The latest confab with the guy from the raid was great. Good to see some people are still out there covering the important topics. Hashtag Free Samurai. Dr. Zavago with 0.0149. The Rage should figure out mailing addresses for Samurai and Tornado Cash devs donation work. But Satan worshipping fucks kill morale first. A handwritten postcard goes a long way in the war for freedom. How do you know I'm Dr. Zavago? No keys, no proof. Yeah, that's good. I think I read that on the episode with Q, or maybe the one with Seth, and was saying we'd happily host something like that. If someone wants to send postcards, we can scan them, put them on the site. The Rage, if you're listening, and you're listening to this part of the show, let us know. We'll happily host that. Anyway, I think that is all the boosts, so thank you very much to everyone who sent in Sats and Monero. We really appreciate it. It really helps us keep going. Enjoy the show. He's back by popular demand.
Yeah, thank you. I meant to check out the name of the dude who said, when is the stoner teacher dude coming back on?
Such a good name for you.
I know. Even though I've not been a teacher for a while now. And now I don't do anything. Now I'm unemployed.
That's the way to be. If you're going to be a proper stoner, you do have to be unemployed.
Yeah, it's true. I just don't want to pay tax money to satanic pedophiles, that's all.
Yeah, I think that is best. It's best not to feed them.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want everyone to be ungovernable.
Yeah, you've left the fiat grind, stopped paying the paedophiles. I've left the country to stop paying them as well. We're on the right path, mate. It feels good.
Whilst I haven't left the UK, I have left England. We all know that you're in Guam.
Yeah.
On a very specific island somewhere. I'm going to dox myself. I've moved to the very north of Scotland.
God.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, since we arrived, it has been blazing sunshine. Absolutely insane. My lovely wife, and John was talking about having a pleb wife to support you. She had all these great ideas of being a homesteader. But, I asked for a trad wife and I got a tard wife because she is she's a big titty goth girl. And she's just like, I can't go out in the sun. What did you think farmsteading, homesteading was going to be like? You have to be outside. So she's actually tanned for the first time. But in true form, it has now pissed it down for the last couple of days.
Well, she'll be happy. I mean, Scotland will do what Scotland does, and it will give you disgusting weather 95% of the time. So she'll have her wellies on and she'll be very happy in the pouring rain and drizzle and grey.
You know what's really weird is we're so far north that the daylight has thrown me wildly.
Oh, really?
It just doesn't get dark even at this time of year. I've been working most days just trying to do stuff, and I sort of think, you judge it by the daylight. I come in when it's twilight and it's fucking 10 o'clock.
Oh.
And then she's just like, I'm ready to go to bed now. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's quite nice.
It's good for productivity, for sure. But the flip side of that is, what the hell is it going to be like in the winter?
Oh, it's going to be dismal.
Yeah.
You're going to wake up in the morning, just any time that you wake up, it's going to be dark.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be about 3 or 4 hours of daylight-ish, and then it's going to be dark again.
28 days of night. It's going to be like that.
Yeah, that's what it's like in parts of Norway.
Well, we're level with parts of Sweden and Norway. So we are equivalent to the southern tip of the big schlong that is the Nordic countries.
Well, I don't envy you short days and all of that, but I do like the Scottish band. I feel like at some stage you'll start learning from them. You have some great band yourself.
Yeah, I'm lacking in the bands. The people up here are so nice, but I do not understand them. The flip side of that is they don't understand me either. That is really weird. They're like, come again?
For the best.
You're like, what the fuck did you just say? Just now. Everything's just now. You're wanting this just now. Like, what?
That sounded Irish.
It does sound a bit. It's kind of farmery. Like I say, we're way north. We're near your favourite horse island of Shetland.
Oh, okay. Where was it I drove? Was it Inverness? Is quite far north, isn't it? It's about as north as you go.
Inverness is where my nearest Nando's is, but that's like well over an hour's drive.
I drove up to Inverness with the world's biggest trailer and an underpowered truck. The thing overloaded to the point that it was like absolutely fucking ridiculously overloaded, like probably double the weight it should have been. And then the people who had strapped it down hadn't strapped it down properly, so roofing flew off all down the motorway, and then I had to gather it on the side of the motorway against strong winds. And then I got all the way up to Inverness after like probably about 11 hours of driving, because I had to go really slowly up there. And then I get there and they'd given me the wrong fucking postcode.
No.
Oh yeah, and then I finally get there to my hotel, whatever, stupid o'clock, and then no one was on the check-in, so I was like, great, like wandered around this fucking random like castle-type building. I was like, where the fuck is everyone? Finally find someone, they give me a key, I go in, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm freezing cold and I'm soaking wet. I just want to have a nice bath. So I went to go and run the bath, and there's no hot water in the whole hotel.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my Inverness experience. It was very beautiful, though.
Oh, it's a gorgeous drive. I should know. Yeah. I've fucking done it twice because I had to drive up with the van, rental van full of all the stuff. And then I had to catch public transport and fly back and then pick up my car and do the whole drive again.
Very nice.
And I managed to smash my phone by shutting it in the van door. So on the drive up the second time, you know how much we rely on Google Maps type things.
Oh, yeah.
I got it all the way to Glasgow, and then I just got really lost, and I was in a really dodgy part of Glasgow asking for directions. Just, it wasn't my most calm moment, let's put it that way.
I can imagine that. You're a very calm beast usually, but occasionally, generally, I think you're a pretty calm bloke, but you know that in there's Thor just loses shit.
Yes, and that's what we're here to unleash today, the inner Thor in all the others. Mm-hmm. We always chat and go, oh, just come on again. What are we going to talk about? But I heard, who's that old man that you have on with a nice voice?
How old are we talking? Like extremely old or sort of middle-aged?
You keep calling him your dad. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, that would be John. Yeah, it's very old, very old. He's a great guy.
Listening to him talk about how, as a man, he used to work 16-hour days, and that was okay in his 20s and 30s. But as you get to your 40s and 50s, and I think John's into his 60s or 70s, I'm guessing.
Oh, he must be.
He must be. Your performance goes downhill. And I was honestly sitting there thinking, well, that's not the case, because I definitely was in a much better shape in my 30s than I was in my 20s, and was in better shape in my 40s than I was in my 30s. So it probably speaks more about the poor condition I was in my 20s and 30s. But I said to you, let's talk about performance enhancement. We know that Bitcoin's all about owning the keys to your wealth. Well, let's own the keys to our health.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
I practice my patter. We probably need to do all the whole disclaimer-y thing at the beginning as well to cover our asses.
I don't really care, but I mean, yeah, it's pretty obvious. Just like what we're going to talk about, I think we're going to go from a sliding scale of like little bits that you can do that normal humans will do, and then you can go like full retard mode like Kerim would do, and just pump yourself fucking tren into your eyeballs,
cow steroids.
And just like I don't think a disclaimer is needed past the point of like just don't be a cunt, and if you are going to be a cunt, you know that it's on you. Like, we're not suggesting to do any of this stuff. That's the disclaimer.
Absolutely. And this is purely for entertainment purposes and educational purposes. If you copy what I did, you're a fucking idiot, because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Yes.
At the same time, I'm going to talk you through some of the really effective things that are out there that can really make super duper improvement. To quote Hunter S. Thompson, he who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man.
Ooh, I like that as well.
Do you know Hunter? Do you know much of him?
I know him really well. Yeah. Great guy.
You know who I'm talking about, at least?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the dude from Fear and Loathing, right?
Yeah, he made Hunter's Chicken.
It's exactly what he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his real claim to fame.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into it then. We do need to cover some of the boring shit,
Okay.
the stuff that applies to everyone, because not everyone's going to trend up to their eyeballs, obviously,
No, they are not.
especially if you're a lady, but I'm not really sure you have any lady listeners.
We have a few. We have Hash Slutette. We have a few others. Warm Orange Tart we have.
Okay, I just assumed this was part of the whole manosphere. I mean, you look just like Andrew Tate.
I do not look like Andrew Tate for anyone listening. The only thing we have in common is a bald head, yeah.
Let's get into it. So start with food. And I'm not going to dwell on all these things too much because we want to get to the juicy stuff quite literally. But I do think it's really important to cover the principles of each of these things, because if you're just jumping in straight into steroids or TRT or even growth hormone releases without getting the basics done, you are a fucking retard. There's a lot that you're going to do first that needs to be checked off before you can allow yourself the pharmaceutical interventions that I know you're all desperate to hear about.
Yeah, so presumably you would do all the stuff that you can do naturally to boost all these levels anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then you check yourself and like, right, where can I improve? Do I need to? Because some people might be like, actually, their testosterone levels are off the fucking chart.
Yeah.
They're packing on muscle. They're really fit and healthy. And it's like, should you do all this stuff? No, you don't need to. You're fine. But then if someone's doing all this stuff and they're getting good sleep and they're eating well and they're training, but their testosterone levels are really low and they're struggling, then it's like, okay, now this is where you've done everything you can naturally. Now let's see what we can do. Because the alternative is just living a more miserable life and just being a lesser version of your previous self, which is a pretty depressing thing to think. And if you can avoid that and be the best you can be, that's surely better.
Yeah. Also, from my perspective, I'm tight as fuck. So if I can do something for free or even save money doing it,
yeah,
rather than spending money on pharmaceuticals, and there is side effects to some of these things, which we will go into. What's the fucking point unless you've got the money to burn?
Yeah.
Which I don't.
Yeah.
So start with food, and I'm going to try and keep it to principles. Top principle is calories are king. In terms of your health span and your lifespan and your health span. So what's the point in living to 100 if you're a vegetable for the last 30 years?
Yeah.
So we want as long and as healthy a life as possible. One of the few things that is scientifically proven to actually increase lifespan is long-term calorie restriction.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we all know, what's the worst thing you can do? Be a fat cunt for your health.
No, I think not eating at all is worse because you die quicker. But the second worst thing you can do is be like, if you're a proper anorexic, you're going to die before the fat cunt.
I looked up the studies, and long-term calorie restriction is going to increase your lifespan.
No. But we're talking in extremes. We're talking like if you're going to be a super fat cunt and you're going to eat like everything that you possibly can, like a disgusting pig, it's going to take you a fair few years to become a blob. Whereas if you don't eat at all or at the absolute minimum and you're a proper anorexic, you're going to die pretty quickly. But I am taking it to the extreme level.
Exactly. If you took it to the extreme level of the film Seven, where that geezer eats and eats and eats until he kicks him in the stomach and he explodes, similarly, you're probably going to die equally as quickly. But if you live a life of extreme calorie excess, or you live a life of extreme, you are an anorexic, but functional anorexic, you are still going to be healthier as the anorexic.
Than the fat cunt.
Than the fat cunt. Yeah, you are going to die quicker as the fat cunt than you are as the sort of terminally thin person. I know I said terminally.
We call them FFCs here.
What's that stand for?
It's double F. It's fat cunt. It's just to emphasize the fatness. Yeah, FFCs.
You could just say American.
Good point.
So that first thing, calories are king. It's really hard because calories are around you all the goddamn time. And the simplest way to do that is just make sure that you are eating a restricted diet of energy as much as you can. And that's why people do intermittent fasting. That's why we have portion control and all this kind of stuff. You cannot get away from them in your daily life. Your mum's going to feed you when you go round. There's going to be donuts at work. There's always fucking food everywhere. One of the things that bugs me is when people get on some kind of bodybuilding or health kick and they're like, I need to hit my calories for the day. And that is just not true. You are saturated with calories. Most likely you're eating more than you are under. There are these random skinny cunts who can eat all the time and really struggle to put on weight. Those are the exception. But for most normal people, you're getting too many calories. You're always going over your daily requirements and you're putting on weight and you're pushing yourself towards heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all these things. So calories are king. Keep them low.
And it's the quality of the calories then, isn't it? Because it's like you could be eating 2,000 calories a day and that could be made of steak and eggs. And then that's like high quality, high protein calories that are going to be good for building muscle and sustaining yourself. Or you could eat like a really fucking shitty Iceland pizza that's got full of like saturated fats and fucking disgusting chemicals and just bullshit, which is going to be the same amount of calories, but it's less nutritionally dense.
That's true. But this is where that saying, calories are king, is a little bit sort of controversial. People have lost weight on McDonald's. People have lost weight on the Mars bar only diet. Because if you're under your maintenance calories, you're going to lose weight, whatever. Now, obviously, there is something about how you feed your body and the requirements for protein and how hungry you're going to be if you're eating a fucking 4 Mars bars a day. That's your entire calorie intake. You're going to feel like shit. But you won't gain weight and you won't put yourself at the risk of diabetes, heart disease, cancer. There is a real good source on this, a guy called Lane Norton. If you don't know Lane Norton, he's one of the few sort of workout and diet gurus online who really is scientifically focused. He's one of the few people I genuinely believe is natty. He's not a secret juice head claiming to be. And he's generally right about everything except sumo deadlift is easier and it is also gay. Because it just looks gay. You spread your legs wide apart like you're going to get bummed and the bar doesn't move as high. So it is gay and it is easier. But generally, he will go into this kind of calories are king. He will deconstruct the carnivore diet. He'll also deconstruct vegan diets and shit like that. But yeah, you're right that the quality of your intake depends on the macros and the micros. So we all know the macros are proteins, fats, and carbs. And we all know what the standard advice is. Like, I don't even need to tell you what, if you want to get healthier, what's the standard advice that you do with your macros?
I'd say go the highest protein you can, drop all carbs and sugars.
Exactly. That is the single piece of advice that every fucking dietitian, every workout person, they all fall back on that. Okay. And it's the reason why is because of what those 3 macros, proteins, fats, and carbs, what they do to the body. Proteins are what the body's made of. It's the raw materials that your body's made of. You're constantly needing to create new cells. You're growing hair, you're growing skin, nails. There are cells that are dying and being replaced. And those require raw materials. And that is what protein provides. So if you don't eat enough protein, you will die. The fats do start providing energy. So they do provide the energy to keep you going. Now, I said earlier, you don't need that much energy because it's all fucking around you. But fats also, particularly cholesterol, are the precursors for your hormones. So they don't just have an energy producing role, they actually have a hormonal role. So they are raw materials as well. And so if you have a fat-free diet, you will eventually, on a long enough timeline, die. Carbohydrates, there is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Now, this is where it gets controversial, and this is where carnivore, keto, all these diets sort of come in. But the simple fact is, you just don't need carbohydrates.
What about fiber?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but you can get fiber from cruciferous veg, things that aren't high in carbohydrates. Like potatoes are high in rice and shit like that. Brown rice is high in fiber, but it's also high in carbs. But broccoli, cauliflower, shit like that, they're high in fiber, but they've got hardly any carbohydrates to them.
I don't think you need fiber. I've done the carnivore for long enough to know that I could shit just fine.
Same. There is that transition period, though, where you spatter the back of the barrel.
Yeah, it was double hard for me as well, because I went through a point where I was going carnivore, but I was also having a load of pre-workout. So that was like the only thing that I was having that wasn't carnivore, because obviously it's full of sugar and creatine and fucking whatever other shit is in there. So the mixture of going carnivore with a very high fat and meat diet, and I was eating quite a lot of it as well, whilst training and having the pre-workout and a lot of coffee through the day, was troublesome.
But then that's true of any significant dietary change because of the intestinal flora, the microbiome of your gut. You know, when you're on a steady diet, the necessary bacteria to break down the things that your stomach can't digest are there and present because they've had time to adapt. As soon as you start changing it and you suddenly have a low carb, high protein diet, your body, well, not your body, but the microbiome in the gut needs time to adapt. That diarrhea thing is not just from a carnivore diet. It's from any significant change in diet. And you can have that after antibiotics as well, because that wipes out your microbiome, same as ibuprofen. I avoid ibuprofen like the plague because of the impact on that microbiome.
Does it? I never knew that.
Yeah. I don't really fuck with any of the sort of over-the-counter medicines.
You like the under-the-counter, round the counter, a reach around.
I don't take any pain medication, paracetamol. Aspirin, I used that when I had COVID to thin the blood. And I recommend any fucker who's had the jab to take aspirin, like a half aspirin every day. I've just got my parents to do that. And they're actually doing it now. They're taking a little half an aspirin every day.
To stop the clotting.
I mean, come on. Yeah, we're all aware of it by now. The coroners are seeing these long, stringy white blood clots in the corpses.
Come on, mate. That sounds like a conspiracy theory. It sounds like it can't be true that there's a significant jump in the amount of people dying.
No, because if it would be on the news.
Yeah, like
it would be.
It's not like there's more people dying since the Jib Jabbies than there were previously. That can't be right.
No, because then there'd be more than just one dude standing up in Parliament.
You would think.
Yeah, you'd think, because they're all blackmailed.
That is a good bit of advice, actually. I hadn't really thought about the aspirin, and I didn't know about the
ibuprofen.
Because I've always thought of that as like, I'll sometimes take that if I've got like some swelling or like if I've got some sort of injury. Like sometimes I'd be like, I'll just take a bit of ibuprofen to bring down the swelling. And I always think with these things, like they don't really, I'd never really feel that different after taking aspirin or ibuprofen or any of these things. Really, it's more of like, I'll just take it just in case kind of thing.
It's a fucking placebo.
Yeah, the only things that I feel work are if you get really, really sick, I swear by hot toddies.
Sounds like something very posh.
Hot toddy? No, you'll have it up in Scotland. People have it there. It's like, if you get really sick, you get hot water, a lemon, clove, honey, and a decent splash of whiskey.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you mix that up, and it's genuinely, you start to sweat more. You've got the vitamin C and all that stuff, like good shit from the lemon, the clove, like gets into your snout and starts cleaning all of that out. You get a bit pissed the more you have them, so you feel a bit better during the time. You sleep, you fall asleep. And every time I've done that, I like got under the covers and like smashed like 4, 5, 6 hot toddies. Then I'll sleep for like 12 hours and I'll wake up just in a pool of sweat and then feel better after a hot shower.
Yeah, sweat out fever. It's that kind of, there's a reason why your body goes into that extreme heat shock, is to make the temperature unsustainable for whatever pathogen is causing it. But it's interesting you mentioned about inflammation and swelling and that kind of thing. Are you aware of the difference between your omega-3s and 6 and 9s? Because that's a huge thing.
No, I would actually have no idea about that, other than you get your omega-3s from fish or those little capsules or whatever, but I'm not sure about what the 6 and the 9s are.
So cod liver oil and your omega fatty acids are essential fatty acids that you need. What a lot of people don't realize is that they actually have impact on inflammation pathways in the body. Inflammation is kind of like a silent killer in the human body. Your body will have all these different pathways. When something's a little bit wrong, like your teeth are really important, because if you have bits of shit between your teeth and you don't floss and pick them out, that food starts to decay, you get an immune response, you get an inflammatory response, but that can get into your blood vessels and that can like go systemically, it can damage the heart. So it's really important that you floss your teeth for the immune response and the inflammation response. But the omega fatty acids that you consume have impact on the inflammation pathways. Specifically, omega-6 will increase the activity of the inflammation pathways. and omega-3s will decrease the inflammation. If you're taking a mixed omega-3, you can get some that will say 3, 6, and 9. That's actually not very good for you because you do want omega-6s in your body, but they are everywhere. They're in all of the shelf-stable foods, all your cereals and breads and crackers and things like that. They're really prevalent in those, but the omega-3s, which you do get from the fish and the fish oil, they're not as prevalent in your diet. So the idea is that what you want to do is you want to get a more balanced ratio of omega-3s and 6s. 9 seem to be kind of neutral. So I would only ever buy omega-3 capsules, not the ones that have the omega-6s in. And I would take like 3 grams of those a day in an attempt to kind of readdress and rebalance the omega-3 and 6 levels to reduce the inflammation. So that's an interesting, that's a whole rabbit hole on itself that you can go down.
Okay, so I inadvertently was doing things right anyway because I only had the omega-3 capsules.
That's good.
Okay, good to know.
If you are obsessive about fibre, then, like I said earlier, you can get cruciferous veg that's not high in carbohydrates, but you can also get it's a really great fibre supplement, a stuff called psyllium husk. It's spelt with a P, Psylliu, something like that, psyllium husk. And that, I used to have a spoonful of psyllium husk in my protein shake as a keep me filled up kind of thing. And that can really help your fibre. I'll tell you what, though, give you the most amazing shits.
Oh, really?
Those hard
ghosties.
Yeah.
That's what dreams are made of.
Yeah. So if you are obsessive about fibre, then psyllium husk, and it's cheap as shit. There was like an Asian supermarket where I used to live, and you just go in and buy a box of it for like £2 or something. And you need like a teaspoon a day. So you could sprinkle it on your porridge or something like that. And it's really good stuff. If you are interested in fibre, you've got bowel cancer in the family, doesn't hurt.
There's going to be a high proportion of people who listen to this show who are going to be carnivores because Bitcoin types all just follow each other. When one's like, oh, I'm going to be a carnivore, everyone's like, oh, that's what we're going to do as well then. So not that I haven't tried it myself, but there are going to be a lot of people who are like that and think that fibre is completely pointless. You don't need any of that stuff. Have you got thoughts on?
Well, I mean, I was a big follower of Mark Bell. I got a lot of my steroid advice from, and he went heavy on carnivore and the war on carbs, and he was of the same opinion that you didn't need fibre. His brother Chris, who was a documentary maker, some great documentaries actually, Chris Bell, he would like to throw in fruit just because it helped him stay sane. I've had great results from a carnivore diet, but I didn't stay strict carnivore. I went with the classic meat and 2 veg. That's what I ate. So I might just eat 4 chicken legs for dinner, okay, but I also might put some sweet corn and peas on the side. I had no problem with that. Cheese as well, yogurt and fruit. It's not going to kill you to eat a bit of veg. There are some people that are like, oh no, fruit and veg are bad for you. And again, going back to Lane Norton, he would just absolutely destroy that, and he would pull out studies about bowel cancer and fibre. I'm not, I'm with you. I don't think you need it, but I think avoiding it because it's bad for you is retarded. And I think just trying to eat a meal that is just meat is quite boring. It's not very sociable. It doesn't look normal. I've been that guy who brings my Tupperware of food with me. That's retarded. I want to go to Nando's and I'll order the chicken and I'll get the sweet corn and the macho peas. And I'll be like, fine. And, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it works if you want to just drop weight. I think, I've talked about it on this show. I went from 100 kilos down to 80, just dropping a shitload of weight in 2 months of doing carnivore and then tapering off to semi-carnivore kind of thing. And it definitely works. If any FFC ever came to me, it's I want to lose weight, I'd be like, right, this is the way to do it. No question. I'm not even going to talk to you about gym. I'm just going to talk to you about this. This is going to make the biggest impact. But after a while, it does get boring. And I kept slipping up. My slip up would be carnivore, completely strict. Then I would go, maybe I could just I have a few berries. I would really crave berries and yogurt. And then I would be another week would go and I'd be like, maybe I'll just add some honey to my berries and yogurt.
Yeah, I know
and then it would be, maybe it just, when I'm having that whole plate of meat, maybe I could just, rather than just salt, maybe I could have a bit of hot sauce or like a little, and then it would spiral out, and then it would be like I'd be smashing fucking burgers and chips. So if you could not fall off too hard and have that middle ground, like that Paul Saladino guy does. He'll have some fruit and he'll have some veg and he'll have some liver and he'll have some meat and whatever. I do feel like that's probably a better, more sustainable thing to do, because you can kind of go out and eat places and stuff. But also, like we were talking off air the other day about cancer and sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Which maybe we should go into that a little bit. But I was thinking, well, if sugar is what allows cancer cells to live or produce, or however you'd say it in like a sciencey way, then fruit is sugar, and therefore would you not be in a worse position than not having it?
Well, I mean, as I said, if I was diagnosed with cancer, I would go on a very strict carnivore keto diet because of the Nobel Prize that Dr. Otto Warburg won back in the sort of early 30s that proved that cancer cells cannot make ATP through any other process other than fermentations of sugars. So they have to use sugar and convert that to make their energy because of mitochondrial dysfunction. It's that usual fucking snaky disclaimery bullshit where they attack one thing he said. He was absolutely right in saying that cancer cells cannot metabolize without sugar. So they will starve to death and die if there's no sugar in your bloodstream. But he then said, I believe that it's the cause of cancer. And they were like, oh, he's wrong because it's not the cause of cancer. Okay. He was wrong about it being the cause, but is he right that cancer cells will starve to death in a no sugar environment? Fuck yes, he's right. But they cover that bit up and they'll attack the one bit where he's wrong. So that is absolutely true. If I was diagnosed with cancer, I would go on a strict carnivore. No sugar would enter my system. And in actual fact, I'd probably keep my calories low because I don't want an excess of protein, because even in an excess of protein, your body can convert proteins into sugars by gluconeogenesis.
So hold on. So what you're saying is that actually getting cancer or avoiding getting cancer, you don't think that has anything to do with the consumption of sugar?
I do think it has to do with the consumption of sugar, but cancer cells are essentially a fault in DNA reproduction. So you're trying to make a new cell, something's gone wrong in the code. You made a copy of a copy and it's fucked up somewhere. That creates one of these mutated cells. Now that could be caused by radiation exposure. It could be caused by chemical exposure in the shit that you're eating, or it could be caused by some metabolic disorder because your body is just generally overloaded. If you're constantly eating, your body is in an anabolic or fat storing, energy storing state. It doesn't prevent all of the catabolic processes. You've heard this term autophagy. Okay. So autophagy is a process where when your body is in like a calorie deficit, it clears out and cleans up and it gets rid of all of the shit, all of the dead cells, all of the misfolded proteins. It sort of cleans up and does a clean house. Now, your average internet diet guru is going to tell you, oh, you just need to be fasting. And again, going back to this like super autistic Lane Norton dude, he's going to be like, no, you have autophagical processes going on all the time, but they are more active in a low calorie state.
Right, which is why they say after 36 or 72 hours, you're repairing and getting rid of dead cells and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know what the word was.
Yeah, that's it.
But it's always like after this amount of hours, which I think is like either 36 or 72 is what I keep seeing. And I'm like, that's annoying because I tend to only do, like the most I tend to do is about 24 hours. Average fast for me most days is probably 15, 16 hours, something like that.
That's good. It's bro science, essentially. You could be eating every 2 hours, but if you're eating below maintenance calories, so you add up the calories for the day that you've eaten and it's below the 2,200 or whatever that you naturally burn as your basal metabolic rate, you will be having autophagal processes because it's like a fire. If the fire is burning low and you're just putting little wood shavings in, but if you overload the fire, it can't burn properly. And that's kind of a model for your metabolic system. You want to make sure that you're burning off a hot fire and you're getting rid of all your crap. Whereas if you've got a fire that you just keep chucking shit into it, fire's going to get clogged, stuff's going to back up, and your burner's going to get full of crap. And that's basically what's going on. Autophagy does depend on your total calorie intake. So again, calories are king. That's why it's the number one principle. But yeah, I think we've ticked off pretty much all of the dietary stuff. We're taking a lot longer than that than I was hoping. But
don't be a fat cunt.
Yeah.
Don't consume too many calories. What you do consume, try and make it generally high protein. Yeah.
You do not need fucking carbohydrates. I will die on that hill. You do not need carbohydrates. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There are essential fatty acids. You do need proteins. So obviously the most logical diet is a high protein, moderate fat diet with some fruit and veg. Micronutrients, we discussed the fact that the omega fatty acids, the omega 3s, are preferable because you're probably getting your omega 6s. Other micronutrients that people are naturally quite low on are things like zinc and magnesium. And there's a great bedtime supplement called ZMA.
Okay.
Now, I cannot recommend this enough. It's cheap as shit. You can buy generics of it. You can buy branded versions, but ZMA is great. It's one of those supplements where I noticed an immediate effect when I started taking it. And it was like I slept really well. I had crazy dreams and I got nice big jizzy loads. So
okay,
what's not to love?
Well, they're all good things. Exactly. Big jizzy loads.
Magnesium is known as a bit of a muscle relaxant. If you are someone who takes stimulants like MDMA and then your jaw's rolling and chattering, it's because you are deficient in magnesium. So supplementation with ZMA, zinc, magnesium, and aspartate, which is kind of a vitamin B6 or 12, I can't remember.
Not that I've ever taken MDMA, but if I had and I had that jaw thing, that definitely means then that I'm deficient. It couldn't be any other reason.
You are taking a powerful drug, but it definitely helps the muscles to relax. You know, in that extreme, if it's doing that in an extreme state where you've taken some kind of, pharmaceutical and it can relax the muscles, imagine what it's doing to you normally on a Thursday night when you've just had a cup of chamomile tea and you're going to bed and you take a bit of magnesium and then your muscles all relax. And we all know magnesium sulfate, which is what they put in the bath salts, not the crazy bath salts.
Not the McAfee bath salts.
No. I can't remember what they call that. Anyway, you put the bath salts in. What that does is it's magnesium sulfate, but it will soak into your muscles and relax the muscles. Oh, it's so bugging me. What that fucking...
Oh, well, you wonder what the salts are called, you mean?
Yeah, bath salts.
Yeah, it's Epsom salts.
That's the fucker. Yeah, Epsom salts. Yeah. So it does absorb through the muscles and cause you to relax. So again, muscle relaxant. So ZMA. And we all know vitamin C because it's an antioxidant. And of course, vitamin D. Get out in the fucking sun. If you're not in the sun, get your vitamin D. Sun does not cause sunburn. Lack of sun exposure causes lack of vitamin D, and then extreme exposure to the sun causes sunburn.
Yeah, I was just about to pull you up on that because I'm like, I have been sunburned. Sunburn doesn't exist.
It does, but this idea that skin cancers are primarily caused to sun exposure doesn't really hold water, because like the parts of your body that are most exposed to the sun, the top of the ears, the nose, these parts don't actually often get skin cancers. The melanomas are found in the arms and various places, that on the back, things like that. A lot of people are saying, bro scientists online are
don't say it's sunscreen that's causing it. You can't.
I do think there are cancer causing chemicals in sunscreen. Smearing heavy metals like titanium on your skin, probably not a great idea, but
no,
like gradual sun exposure throughout the year is just the simplest thing. Like I ride a bike, so I go out as soon as it's slightly sunny in March and April. I get a little bit of sun exposure. You get more and more and more throughout the year. I don't get burnt. I never get burnt.
Yeah, easing into it.
The problem is, most people spend all of their fucking life indoors, and they'll go out on a hot August day in shorts and flip flops and a fucking vest, and then they'll get absolutely lobstered, and then go, "Oh, I wonder why I got sunburn."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you go on holiday and you're like, sunscreen? Don't need that shit. Day one.
In fucking Portugal or somewhere like that.
Yeah, I've done that before, like a couple of holidays ago, where I hadn't barely seen the sun for like a year, and I just went out day one. Mrs. was sick, and I was like, I'll get out by the pool. Just got battered on cocktails and just lay there with no sunscreen. And the next day it was in unbelievable pain.
I bet you were wearing sunglasses as well, weren't you?
Yes, I was, yeah.
So your eyes are photoreceptors, and based on the amount of light that your eyes are detecting, your body will release a chemical called melanopsin, which will help protect you from the sunburn. But if you've got sunglasses on, the melanopsin release is not as high, so you're more likely to get sunburn if you're wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. So I did it all right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's how you do it on holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were hammered, you got burnt by the pool.
Yeah.
Right, I've got loads on here, but should we just get down to the juicy bit, which is the performance enhancers? Because I'm sure people could talk about training and sleep and all that shit.
Yeah.
But let's just get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
I will quickly say, everyone who thinks they're training with weights, you're probably doing it wrong, and you're probably a pussy. Go and have a look on a website called EXRX and look at the strength standards. Look at your body weight and look at your lifts. If you don't know your 1 rep maxes, you're definitely doing it wrong. You should be able to squat 1.5 times your body weight for 5 reps. If not, you're a beginner. Okay? If you can't bench press somewhere near your body weight for at least 3 reps, you're a beginner. Okay, these are real basic tests of strength, and these strength standards come from the 50s. Long and short of it, go and get a 5x5 program. There's loads of free ones. Mark Ripto's Texas Meth.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a pussy. Get on something serious like Wendler 531. Get fucking strong. Don't be doing some bodybuilder program where you're doing 10 sets of 10 reps. That's gay. 5x5. I did all my training naturally at the beginning when I first started lifting weights, and I got up to squatting 150
kilograms
for 3 sets of 5, deadlifting 180 for sets of 5, shoulder pressing sort of 50 for 5 reps, and benching sort of 60, 70. I've got a problem with my shoulders, so that is a shit bench. But all of those are achievable naturally within a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And if you aren't doing that, then you're a pussy and you need to get on a proper strength training program. Okay, so that's all I can say about that.
Glad we cleared that up. I would be in that pussy category now then, because I don't have a gym where I am now, so all I have is a TRX band thing, which I just hang off something, like hang off a beam that I've got, and then just do all body weight stuff. Because I'm so strong, I'm doing reps of like 20, 30 on most of these things, because there's just not enough weight, unfortunately. So I would be in that pussy category.
There's always ways you can make it harder. Like during COVID, I didn't have access to a bench, and that was difficult. You know, I couldn't squat, so I was doing fucking deadlift reps. And this is upstairs in a flat. The poor cunt below me complained and was being a dick about it. So fuck him. But yeah, I was doing a lot of deadlifts as heavy as I could and a lot of shoulder press. But in order to keep my chest good, I would do like, the push-ups, but I'd be putting my legs really high up.
Mm-hmm.
So your kind of body's at a diagonal pointing downward. So there's always ways to increase the load. I'm not sure that increasing the reps, but at the same time, I ended up doing like hundreds of push-ups every night.
Yeah.
At some points, just to keep it going. And it did fucking work when we got back into the gym. And then I was like, let's see how 100 kilos, which is 220 pounds for the Yanks. It was good. There was a very minimal drop off, And I was like, okay. So push-ups and shit can do a lot.
Okay. Good to know.
Okay, let's get into the real stuff. We spent nearly an hour chatting about this. How do we improve our performance and improve our health quickly and easily with some pharmaceuticals? That's what everyone really wants to know.
That's what we want to know.
The number one thing I'm going to recommend for everyone is a growth hormone secretagogue. Okay. So what this is something that you can take that causes your body to naturally release human growth hormone.
Okay.
So it's not the same as putting human growth hormone into your body. It's not exogenous. It's not stuff from outside,
Mm-hmm.
you're telling your body to release more.
Okay.
It's a very simple oral medication that you can take called MK677. Now, do check the legality of this in your place. Like in the UK, this stuff is just order it online and it comes through the post. That's it. And it's not illegal. It's not regulated in any way, shape, or form. And I've never really had any problems with quality. Olympus Labs do some good stuff, but I've just bought generic MK677 a bunch of times. And I know it works because the only side effect I've ever noticed is I get quite hungry.
Okay. Is it expensive?
Not really. I mean, a bottle of 15 milligram pills, about, let's say 60 pills, is about 30, 40 quid in the UK. So maybe $50 if it's equivalent pricing in the US.
That's still quite a lot, though. That's still, $50 a month.
Yes, but you don't need to run it forever.
Right.
You run it for a month. It's one of those great supplements that you can just take, and the benefits aren't immediately realized, but they last a really long time.
Okay.
So with increased growth hormone in your body, it's basically like a teenager. Teenagers have really high levels of growth hormone, obviously for that growth spurt that they go through.
Mm.
But things that you'll notice, that quick healing, that crazy teenager sleep,
Mm-hmm.
a bit of an increased libido I noticed as well, some increased hunger, but a decrease in body fat and a very slight increase in musculature. It's not going to pack the pounds on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really going to be noticeable. It will improve performance. So I did notice my lifts going up. I track my 1 rep maxes when I did this the first time, and there was a real bump in the lifts.
Mm-hmm.
So that was noticeable. Don't expect to see results for the first 3 weeks. It takes a while to kick in, but like by week 4 and 5, you're just like, And then the long-term benefits you start to see are improved skin, hair, nails, like decreased wrinkles, I believe, like a younger looking face. Yeah, I reckon that one is a no-brainer for me. If someone said to me, look, I want to take something. In fact, I recommended it to a colleague a while back, and just, you throw out these recommendations, you don't expect anything. And he came back to, like, I saw him a couple of months later and he's like, I got that MK677. It was great. It's brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Oh, right. Okay, cool.
So you could sort of do it, you could like maybe cycle it, you do it like once a year or once a quarter or something like that.
My sort of bro recommendation is get as much as you can and take it for as long as you can.
Right.
I will say, if you already have a cancer tumor, that motherfucker's going to grow.
Okay. So yeah, don't do that.
Don't do it if you've got cancer.
Okay.
Or if you're a fat cunt.
Yeah.
I've already given you the first thing that you can take if you really want to start using pharmaceutical interventions, and that's an oral medication. Beyond this point now, it's needle time. Okay. So we're going to start you off with some more growth hormone secretagogues, but these are going to be used with the insulin needles. So there's very small little needles that you see scattered around in the street in lovely areas of built up cities.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference here is MK677 is kind of like a sledgehammer. It will increase your growth hormone, but all it will do is just get your body to release the maximum amount. Now, there are other growth hormone secretagogues that are only active through either injection, or you can buy nasal sprays.
Mm-hmm.
Nasal sprays are apparently very effective, but they're more expensive because you're using a lot more. If you're injecting it, it's going straight into the body, whereas if you're sort of nasaling it, much of it's kind of exhaled and wasted. So there's a couple of compounds that I'm going to recommend. One's called ipamorelin, and one is called CJC 1295. Now, peptides, which is what these are, they're not like hormones. Hormones is kind of like a master key that you go into a building and you can open loads of doors and flip a load of switches and turn loads of shit on. Whereas peptides are much smaller molecules which only activate a few discrete pathways. So they're a lot more controlled. They have a lot more specific effects.
Okay.
I can't remember which way round it is. I think the CJC 1295 increases your body's ability to produce growth hormone. So it kind of fills your reservoir and increases the reservoir of growth hormone that's there in the pituitary gland. if you take CJC-1295 and a growth hormone releaser like ipamorelin or MK677 together, those are going to have, it's like a 1 + 1 = 5 kind of deal. And I've got my little notes here. So saturation dose is at around 100 micrograms per kilogram. If you then go up and double the dose, so say you take 200 micrograms per kilogram, you're only going to get 150% result.
Right.
And if you then double again to get 400 micrograms per kilogram, you're getting 175%. So there's no point. You get this diminishing return as you increase it. So I was using 150 micrograms of ipamorelin and 100 micrograms of CJC-1295 a day as a sort of mixed injection.
Okay. And this just goes into your belly fat, doesn't it?
Yes, you're not injecting. I've never injected anything at all into my bloodstream, no matter how much of a drug fiend I come across as on the previous pod. I've only ever injected like intramuscular or subcutaneous, so into the body and belly fat. So,
Okay.
yeah. And it's not that bad. Like my buddy, I'm going to talk about TRT next. My buddy has just started it. He's gone for a clinic. And, you know, I said to him, oh, how did you find pinning yourself for the first time? And he was like, oh, yeah, it was pretty sketchy, pretty scary. But he's been doing it into the belly fat. And I was like, I remember when I first did it, I fucking, you know, all the juice heads online, they tell you to buy this, that, and the other. And it's like I used a McDonald's straw to inject it into my ass. It was just like literally right into my asshole. And I've done it in my shoulders, which was horrible. I wouldn't recommend that. But the injecting can be quite sketchy and scary. But there are loads of people who do it every day with insulin and things like that. If you try MK677 and you're kind of like, oh, this is impressive, and you want to go to the next step and try the ipamorelin and the CJC-1295, you can buy the nasal sprays, but it's much cheaper and much more effective in the vials. Do make sure you use proper bacteriostatic water and good sterile principles. You know, wipe your vials. I always used to keep my vials in the freezer and defrost them because these compounds, once mixed with water, they do start to degrade slowly.
Okay.
So I just freeze them and defrost them and use them. Or I'd fill up my syringes and then freeze those. Just take the syringe out, use it and bin it. I do get a sharp spin. Sharp spins don't cost a lot. It's nice. Don't some poor binman worrying that he's got AIDS because he's jabbed himself on your growth hormone secretagogues.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't be a cunt.
Don't be a cunt.
Yeah. The thing is with the injectables, like for me, just being a pussy, like I fucking hate needles. So for me, I'd instantly be like, nah, that's not for me. That's just not for me.
They are so thin. I've got my packet here. What are they? They are 30 gauge, 0.3 mil. So it's a third of a millimeter wide. Like you really can't feel it. You really can't, especially when you're sticking yourself in the belly fat.
I guess the fatter you are, the more comfortable it is.
I don't think it really makes any difference. Like I personally, when I do injections, because the next thing we talk about is straight TRT, I actually take my time, I put the needle just on the skin, and I look for a point where it hurts less, because there are some points where it hurts a lot more. There's more nerves in that part of the skin. So there are times when I go to put and I'm like, no, that hurts there. And I just move it like, you know, just like a few mil across. And then the next point, it just doesn't hurt as much.
Okay.
And if you watch how nurses do it, they will just fucking jab it in then like, press it down. I'll always sit down, take my time. I always buy the isopropyl alcohol wipes and wipe the piece of skin first. Because if you don't, you can get infected. And that sounds worse than it is. But I've had red rashes where I've injected too fast or forgotten to wipe beforehand. Do follow good procedures and do take your time. I can just say that. If you want to go beyond the growth hormone secretagogues into testosterone, you are going to have to use needles. There is no orally bioavailable test.
Okay.
There is stuff that you can get. There's an oral tablet called Prohibition, also known as mestellerone, and this has androgenic activity. So steroids are actually known as AAS, anabolic androgenic steroids. Now, that means they have two modes of function. The anabolic, I'm sure you can guess what that means. But the androgenic is more the sex hormonal side of things.
Mm-hmm.
If your reason for wanting TRT is not that you're puny and have you're skinny, fat, and all this kind of stuff, if your reason for wanting it is low mood, low energy, poor sleep, and your pecker just doesn't work, but you're happy with your physique, do consider Prohibition, mestellerone, as an oral option.
Okay.
You can avoid the needles and you can have the androgenic effects. So improved mood, improved sleep, improved sex drive, improved sexual performance. All of that will come from Prohibition, mestellerone.
Okay.
So that can work. And if you were wanting to add in some anabolics on top, you could do that. The problem is that most orals are liver toxic. Prohibition is not liver toxic.
Okay.
So there's a standout TRT type drug that will give you some benefits without having to use needles.
Good. Okay.
But test is best.
Test is best.
Let's be honest. Testosterone, it really is. Now, we want to talk about TRT because that's what everyone really wants to hear about, is the dosage of test. Test is pretty easy to get hold of in the UK. I know that it's super illegal in America. In the UK, actually, testosterone is legal to possess. If I went to a country where it was legal, so let's say I went to Thailand and bought a load in a pharmacy, or Mexico, if I fly back to the UK and it's in my suitcase, as long as it's for personal use of body modification, that's perfectly legit and legal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And if I'm caught in possession, that's perfectly legit and legal as well. So we actually have really good sort of liberal laws around testosterone in the UK and steroids.
Okay. So UK is fine. America not?
In the land of the free, it's fucking hard. I've seen videos of guys driving, if you live on near the border, they'll drive into Mexico. They'll shoot all their gear and then just drive back with nothing on them because they're so scared of the border patrol catching them.
Ah.
Again, it is legal in the pharmacies in Mexico. You can just buy it. But yeah, I know people are stuffing their cars, pulling apart their dashboard and shoving little vials in. It's super illegal in America thanks to fucking Joe Biden back in the 80s.
What a cunt. But so you can do it though. You just got to go to a doctor and pay presumably quite a lot of money for them to do it for you.
Yes. So my buddy who lives in London, and he's pretty well off, shall we say, he's gone private and he's got a script for his test, and they've done a decent job. He sent me it and said, this is what they've told me to take. And I was like, that's good. I would not have recommended anything different to that.
Yeah.
So he's on 150 milligrams a week. When I was on, I've stopped taking tests now. I was on 200 mgs a week, which is kind of the sports dose.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Tom Brady kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
It's like really high natural. It's within the natural range, but it's at the top end of it.
Yeah. Whereas
an actual steroid cycle, like I'm going to get juiced up and get big, they start at around 500 a week.
Oh shit. Okay.
I've taken 1,000 a week.
Oh, you can. Tom Brady's on 200 and you're on 1,000.
There's loads of dudes that have done way worse. Way worse.
Hell. Okay.
It gets a little confusing with testosterones as well because there are these different esters. So they all have like an oil attached to them. Mm-hmm. So you inject it into your body and the oil dissolves into the fatty tissues, and then the body, there's a enzyme that breaks the ester off, releases the free test, and it gets it out. And the longer the ester that's attached, the slower it takes to release.
Okay.
So if you were to get something with a really long ester, so a decanoate ester, it will stay in your body a long time. It will release slowly. If you get a really short ester, like propionate, that's a lot quicker. My buddy, he started it, and I was like, how are you feeling? He's like, 2 weeks, nothing. I was like, yeah, because he was on enanthate, which is the most common ester. There's enanthate and cypionate, which are both very similar in terms of the ester length. I personally preferred enanthate because the ester's slightly lighter, so you get a little bit more test for the money.
Okay.
Because the weight, the number of milligrams that they put into the vial, if the ester is slightly heavier, then you're paying, you're getting more ester than you are test. So yeah, I would recommend enanthate. But if I'm absolutely being honest, I would buy a proper bodybuilder blend called T400. That normally is a blend of very long and some short ones. If I was going to recommend someone to get some, if you were buying it yourself, obviously the best way to do is to go to a clinic, go see a doctor. But it's very cost effective to go and just buy some shit yourself and just use it. And there are lots of forums, there are lots of boards available. Simple, easy way, if you don't want to fuck around, buy some enanthate or some cypionate and take, let's say, 0.5 ml a week. Use a small insulin needle, wipe the top of your vial with the wipe, sterile wipe, stick the needle in, suck out 0.5 ml, wipe your belly, stick it in your belly fat and inject it. Watch YouTube videos on all this stuff. It's all there. That's a nice, quick and easy one. If you want to be a bit more like fancy pants about it, there's a blend called Sustanon, which has a blend of these short-acting esters and these long-acting esters. And that will mean that you get that immediate bump and you also get that long-term effect.
Okay.
Because if you're just using the short-acting stuff, which are like an athlete will use, you have to inject like every day or every other day.
Oh shit.
Ball ache. It's real ball ache.
And if you're using the other one, it's what, weekly or?
Yeah, I would just do a 1 weekly injection.
Okay.
A 1 weekly injection of 0.5 ml of T400. So I'd get 200 milligrams of test every week. It was long acting esters that would slowly release, and I had a nice consistent level. You feel great. Top of the world.
How would somebody do the testing, like blood tests? Presumably when you go to a doctor, they presumably are going to sort of check your bloods every so often to make sure that you're in the right range and then adjust accordingly. Like, how would you go about doing that if you're doing it at home?
Well, here in the UK, I just went to the doctor and said my dick don't work and I can't sleep, and I listed a whole bunch of low T symptoms, and I said I think my test is low, and they did a test for me and actually managed to get a couple of tests out of the NHS for free for doing that.
Oh wow!
I knew that my test was low because I just finished the cycle, so we'll get into this in a minute. But when you take testosterone exogenously, your natural production shuts down.
Okay.
This is the real issue. So I knew that I was going to have a low test result. I went in and the result was low because I just wanted to check my post-cycle therapy was working. And then they scheduled a retest and I was taking these post-cycle therapy drugs, Clomid, clomiphene citrate and Nolvadex. But Clomid and Nolva, if you look up PCT, which stands for post-cycle therapy, you'll find loads of people talking about shit online. I personally don't ever advocate PCT. I think it's one of the worst things to do because what you take is these kind of estrogen similar chemicals. The reasons why is too long to go into, but it can make you feel quite miserable, emotional, hormonal, irrational. You know, if someone asks you where you want to go for dinner, you have no idea.
Right. Okay. Like you are literally a female.
Yeah. What I found after a lot of trial and error was it's a compound that, again, it's freely available in the UK called HCG. So I personally would not recommend anyone take testosterone or any suppressive androgen hormones without HCG as well. And HCG stands for human chorionic gonadotropin. So what it does is it tells your balls to work.
Okay.
The way your system, your HPTA, works is that there's an on switch. That's it. There's no off switch. There's just an on switch.
Okay.
So when test is low, the brain presses a button and then that fires the testes up. You start injecting loads of testosterone levels high, and it goes, oh, it's really high, and it stops pressing the button. You stop releasing any gonadotropins. And then this is where the small dick myth comes from. If anything, test will cause your dick to sort of swell a little bit. If you combine that with things like Viagra or what's the other one, Cialis, and a dick pump, you can actually put an inch on your dick. Okay? I'm not joking. Go check out Mark Bell's Power Project, the episode where they have Susan Bratton, I think it is, a sex specialist who goes into all this stuff. And like, it's fucking hilarious because they're like kids in a candy store just laughing away at this MILF talking about dick pumps and all this kind of stuff. But they went through a whole phase about sexual health because they're like, Mark's a big juice head. They're very open about it. Like, you can increase your dick size. So, but your balls will shrivel. Okay. And I know this the hard way, that like firsthand. I've had like fucking, they look
raisins.
Like, I don't know, cats. Yeah, oh mate, yeah, tiny little things. So I'm coming off of everything now because I want to mind some kids, hopefully.
Mind some kids.
Yeah, but unfortunately, my servers were looking a little bit depleted. So I've stopped the test, and all I'm on now is HCG. And like, literally the other day, I walked into the living room with my plums in my hand and just sort of showed the missus and was like, "Look how big they are! They're full size again." And you know, going back a couple of months, I remember going, "Babes, look how small they are! Like raisins, like just so tiny." So this is the real, for me, the problematic side effect of taking hormones. Any kind of androgenic hormone is that you are going to shut down your own natural production. If you've got 4 kids and you don't want any more, like, give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of the reason I started on TRT. I just kind of like early 40s, single, and I was like, it's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
So I'm just, let's just juice up to the max.
Yeah.
And, you know, circumstances have changed. So now I've come off the T. And like I say, I've got a nice, full, firm pair of plump balls. And that's all thanks to this human chorionic gonadotropin. And as I said, my buddy who just got recommended TRT, so he went to the clinic, private clinic. They've done his test. Test was low. They've given him 150 milligrams of test a week. But more importantly, they've put him on HCG as well.
Right, so they do it at the same time. So it's like, it stops them shutting down.
Yeah. I've argued to death when I was still on Reddit. I can't believe I was ever on there. But like, there are some people that will try and tell you that the sort of PCT chemicals like Nova and Clomid will somehow magically increase testosterone production in the balls and prevent them from atrophying. And when I say atrophying, like, it's not painful, but you can feel your balls like shriveling.
Yeah.
It's like a slightly uncomfortable, slightly tight feeling in the balls. They shrivel up, and they essentially are atrophying and wasting away. Do not believe these twats online that tell you that Nova and Clomid will keep your balls firm and plump. The only thing is HCG, and there's an analog called HMG. Those are the only things that will keep your balls going. So if you're going to do this, fucking get the HCG as well.
Okay.
Because at the end of your cycle, if your balls are all still intact, you stop taking the stuff and you're back to normal really quickly. Whereas if you don't take it, they shrivel up. It takes 3 or 4 weeks. And in that time, you're miserable as fuck.
Right. Okay. So for the people who are listening who are thinking, right, this could be useful, this is something that I think I need to do, I'm already eating healthy, I'm already like sleeping as much as is possible in my life, doing all the things and training, but my testosterone is low, they could presumably pay for a blood test separately that would show their levels, and then they could buy and like administer this themselves is one option, or they can just go to a doctor and do it. But the doctors are going to be, I don't know what does something like that cost if you go to a doctor?
I didn't ask. My buddy is not shy of a few dollars. He's like a London city boy type. Look, all I know is it cost me like $5 a month.
$5 a month? Oh, wow.
£5 a month. Yeah, like a vial of T400 is 40 quid and it lasts me 20 weeks. Like, that's the maths.
And you can just order that online, presumably.
You get a 10% discount if you pay in Bitcoin for a lot of these people as well.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yeah. If you want to source it, there's a really great website called eRoids. No hyphens or anything, just eRoids. And they'll have a tab at the top for suppliers, and you can select your region, US, UK, Canada.
Use the code Ungovernable. Not really. They don't sponsor the show before I get in trouble.
But like, yeah, I always just went on eRoids, looked at who was the like top 10 suppliers in the UK, looked at their websites to see if they had the products I wanted, and then see what their sort of checkout system was, and went for whoever I felt comfortable with. I've never been ripped off through it. Yeah, touch wood. Your experiences may vary. Certainly here in the UK, it's really fucking easy to get hold of, and it's really cheap.
Okay.
And also, it's on dark markets as well.
Okay. If someone's going to do it, I would think that the best thing is that they do regular or semi-regular blood tests to make sure that they're in a reasonable range and they're not doing anything that's fucking retarded, or that they're not undershooting or overshooting things. That would presumably be something that you could pay for privately and get a load of other markers checked and then still administer at home. Because my guess is, I don't know what it's going to cost at a doctor's, but my guess is it's going to be at least $500 a month, isn't it? Like you don't ever walk into a doctor and they're like, yeah, that's £30. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be, yeah, you come in and we're going to put you on this program. We're going to inject you once a week, and it's 150 quid a week, or 250 quid a week, or 500 a week. It's not going to be less than that.
Yeah, it's not going to be cheap.
No.
And if you want to go for a centralized model, that's entirely up to you. I will say this, like, I have pushed this shit to some very extreme levels.
I've seen.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, I ended up coming off of the sort of anabolics because I was just too big in the end. It was just obvious.
Yeah. You were a monster.
Yeah. It's because I was using the anabolics at the same time as the growth hormone releases. I've not even touched on just injecting straight growth hormone because it's not something I've done. I found that just releasing my own growth hormone was way effective enough. But the synergy of using some test and some growth hormone release, that is like a 1 + 1 = 5. And that was when I just fucking blew up. And like, yeah, I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is obvious now, so let's come off. And I also kind of got bored of working out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd kind of hit some of my goals. If anyone's interested, personal best, like I deadlifted like 275, which is, I don't know what that is in pounds. It's like 660 pounds. Shoulder press was 125. That's like nearly 300 pound shoulder press.
Yeah, that's decent.
Like, it was higher than my bench because of my janky shoulder.
Yeah, your shoulder's proper fucked. Like, for anyone listening, if someone's like, oh, everyone's got a bad shoulder, like I've got a rotator cuff injury. No. Like, if you look at Kerim, he's got this snapped fucking bone, which is like totally in the wrong place, and it all just looks like you've been in a fucking car crash.
Yeah, it was a nasty bike crash, BMX crash, where I just tore all of the tendons away. So I didn't snap the bone, but the tip of the clavicle that attaches to the shoulder, that was completely severed from the shoulder. And then some of the tendons that hold it to the chest were also torn. So the collarbone was kind of just like flapping around loose, which if I'd have actually broken the collarbone, I would have had probably a better prognosis for recovery. My shoulder was fucked for quite a long time. I couldn't raise it above arm level. That's one of the reasons I started working out that, and sciatica. Worked out naturally for a while. Just got addicted to the numbers. Once I got to like 180 kilo deadlift naturally, I was like, how far can I push this? And then I just started, juicing up.
That's where it gets dangerous, is like obsession with the numbers. Because it's like most people generally, they get into the gym to be like, I want to be physically strong and I want to look good. Like, okay, that's my goal. But then once you do it long enough, it is like, no, the number is the goal. Like that's what it all
number
becomes.
Go up.
Yeah, NGU. And then it's like, actually you start looking less aesthetically pleasing. You probably start to get less healthy because you start pushing things too far. And like you say, it's like, it can get boring. So I remember you doing that and being like, I don't need to be any stronger than I am. I'm fucking bored. I'm taking up jiu-jitsu and cycling again. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's it. Now I can say, honestly, like, obviously from the last pod, I've been a degenerate drug addict for the last year or so.
Yeah.
And the health benefits of what I did in my 30s and 40s are insane. Like, I still have severe amounts of muscle mass. I'm very strong. I have a very high metabolism. I don't really put weight on. I weigh myself every day. I keep an eye on that. I do try and keep those principles of eating, but the muscle burns the calories.
Yeah.
And it also acts as body armor in terms of, like, I've had some nasty falls since I gave up weightlifting and started riding. But the worst that's happened is I've broken my foot, and that was kind of repaired. I should say there is some amazing peptides for healing as well. TB500 and BPC 157. So this is during COVID. I was living near some like really nice jumps in the woods, some dirt jumps. I got a bit too comfortable and I took like a bad tumble and smashed my knee into the ground. And it seemed okay, but I fucking went and lifted weights on it.
Silly cunt.
Yeah, and then it just blew up. And then I went to hospital during COVID and they were cunts about it. The x-ray man was just bending my knee loads to do the x-rays. I was like, dude, you really hurt me. It's swelling up. And then they were like, look, we've done the x-rays. It's all soft tissue damage. I was like, but I can't move my leg now because the x-ray guys just fucking like twisted me up like I was in a jiu-jitsu lesson. And they were like, just get out of the hospital because it's COVID. And they kicked me out.
Because it's COVID.
So I just went home. I was like,
can I just ask, were you wearing your Bane mask? Because that might have something to do with it.
They gave you like little surgical masks when you get there, but like, right. Yeah, I don't think I had. I only went shopping once in my Bane mask during COVID. The security guard just went, nice mask. So yeah, after flagging a taxi down and just going, please drive me around the corner, I'll give you a $5 to my car. And then getting home, I just went online and I was like, right, what do I need? TB500, BPC 157. And I was just literally injecting it into my fucking swollen ass knee that looked like a melon. And honestly, it just shrank in days. They call it Wolverine in a bottle, that mix. So I can only recommend UK suppliers. Direct-Peptides UK have been really good to me. Promo code. But yeah, there is the direct peptides, but it's a direct-peptides that I get my stuff from. And I've been really impressed with those people. You can probably get some of the stuff that we're talking about as nasal sprays or just comes in vials. But yeah, there's loads out there that we could potentially talk about. But we've got a hour hard stop on this one.
Yeah. Well, I think, do you know what I think would be good is, I think we've sort of covered the diet stuff that most people listening to this are fairly clued up on.
Yeah.
I think the TRT stuff is something that a lot of listeners, we have quite an old listener base, that kind of like John's age listener base, and
80. 90.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them are either on it or considering it. I'm getting to the stage where I'm like, I'm probably not that far off considering. I can still make some changes to my lifestyle to be better, but I'm probably, 5 years off being where I'm like, yeah, I need to seriously consider doing this. And it's just a sort of fact of life. And I think, when you're talking about the numbers where you're like, oh, it cost me £5 a month. It's like, a lot of people will be listening to this and being like, I can't afford to go to a doctor and pay whatever, 500, 1,000, 2,000, fuck knows what it's going to be, but it's not going to be cheap. But I could afford that, and I could afford a blood test every couple of months privately. I can't imagine that's crazy money. And so
the blood tests, there are a lot of people that provide these home blood tests. You get like a little lancet thing, you just prick your finger with. I mean, the sexual health tests come the same sort of thing. You just prick your finger, send it away, and they tell you have got AIDS. So I'm sure you can get cheap. I think it's about £100 for a home testosterone test. And then they'll try and fucking sell you stuff, but you can just do the test every now and then. You can take control of it and have the keys to your own health. Then you can vary the dosage to what you feel appropriate. There are a couple of sides we probably should just throw in as well. Like one of the things that is always going to happen when you increase your test level is that your cholesterol levels are going to go up.
Okay.
Now, jury's still out on that. I personally, I have had a heart defect. Okay. So this is not to do with the steroids. Okay. This is an electrical default in the heart that was then exacerbated by COVID. So I have been to doctors. I had 2 surgeries to remove this wiring, connective tissue in the heart. They were constantly obsessed with checking my blood pressure. There was never any question of blood pressure issues. So there's no blockage or furring of the arteries that's detectable in my cardiovascular system. Whilst there is this red light about, oh my God, testosterone will increase your cholesterol profile. It's like, yeah, it will, but so will a carnivore diet. And again, these are generally associated with improved health markers.
Presumably, when you do these blood tests, you could ask to see all the different markers. Like, could you not check for cholesterol from your blood test and testosterone levels and all this stuff?
Yeah, I think cholesterol tests are well easy to get hold of as well.
But what I'm saying is, can't you just do one fucking blood test to rule them all that just tells you all the shit you need to know? Like, here's my blood, right? You're going to test it for a load of shit. Can you just tell me what's my testosterone level? What's my cholesterol level? Blah, 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 like everything.
I mean, if you're going through a private doctor, yes. I actually had quite a good hormone panel through the NHS. I made up a bit of a story. I was like, yo, me and my wife are trying to get pregnant. My dick don't work. These are the symptoms of low testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sleeping very well. I'm finding it difficult in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Or this, which was a bit of a, when you're walking in looking it's fucking juicy as fuck.
Yeah.
But doctors don't really know much anyway.
Yeah.
They know very little about endocrinology.
Mm-hmm.
The same as that they don't know much about nutrition.
They know nothing about nutrition. I think they get sent on one day every 3 years to learn about like the food pyramid.
Oh yeah, and then they learn way more about fucking what the new pharmaceutical insurance setup is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're paying privately, you can get all this stuff. It's about being smart with it. If you are going to take tests, your cholesterol is going to boost up a little bit. So you must have your diet in check beforehand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing 150 milligrams a week, that's not above baseline sort of natural levels. So there's no reason to expect that there's going to be any significant changes for that. Your body ran on that level for 10 years between the sort of ages of 12 and 22.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly with the growth hormone stuff, if you're taking 15 to 30 milligrams of MK677 a day, you're not really pushing your body to a level. You're not injecting amounts of human growth hormone. You're telling your body to release the stuff it's got. Oh, by the way, it does release growth hormone when you are fasting as well. So there's this interesting effect where the hunger hormones, when the hunger hormone is high, the growth hormone is released as well. So that's one of the reasons why the side effect of MK677 is the increased hunger. And that's one of the reasons why fasting is so effective. It's not just about reducing calories, it is about raising growth hormone as well.
Interesting. So if I'm sticking to like a roughly 16 to 18 hour fast and then like having either one meal or maximum 2 meals and high protein and all that, like that puts me in a pretty good spot where likely I probably don't need the human growth hormone stuff. Probably.
Look, there's this andropause thing that you're not factoring in. From the age of 30, your testosterone level is going to drop by a couple of percentage points every year.
Yeah.
And that's very variable. All of this is about, there's no perfect, because what are you going to do? You're going to drink tap water and calcify your pineal gland, or drink bottled water and have microplastics settle in your balls. You don't have a lot of choices.
Neither, mate. I drink Perrier out of a glass bottle.
Of course, yeah, your Voss or some shit like that. Yeah, if you can afford it. But don't let perfect be the enemy of good. If I was going to say to you, just get a fucking bottle of MK677 and just take 2 tablets a day, take 30 milligrams a day and just see what happens. Okay. I promise you wouldn't be disappointed with the results. I'm guarantee you're not going to have any sides that are going to be like earth shattering or life changing. You might, like I say, you might be hungry. The impact of these things, especially the growth hormone stuff, was very long lasting for me. And the sooner you get these effects, the sooner you can stop the aging process. You can reduce it. You can't really turn time back.
No.
There is some talk of stuff that lengthens your telomeres. I've not really looked into it. I've not tried it. I won't talk too much about it. But essentially, what you want to do is kind of freeze time now. And the longer you leave it, the later you're going to freeze time.
Okay. Well, what I think we should do is, I think we've covered a lot of ground there. Loads of people are going to listen to this, probably take some notes and think about what bits they might want to incorporate. And then there's probably going to be some questions. So people will either boost in or XMR chat in or put on the socials or whatever any questions. And then maybe we could, because normally what I do, this would be under a confab. What I'll do is I'll then normally read the boosts at the beginning of the next confab. Maybe I could read the boosts but give your answers to any questions in that section.
Yeah, no worries.
That would be good, because otherwise people are going to have questions. And then what's going to happen is people are going to reach out to me and they're going to be like, oh, Max, what do I do about the BP562 and what's that going to do to my telomeres? So I'll be like, listen, cunt, I'm not the fucking person to ask, all right? Let me ask Kerim.
I'll tell you what, though, just experiment. I know that sounds really reckless. It was okay for me because I kind of know a bit of science, a bit of chemistry. I do have a chemistry degree. So like I was okay with dosages and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you know, like as long as you do a lot of research beforehand and you kind of read around the edges and go, okay, this is what I'm going to try. Pretty hard to fuck it up. Let's be honest.
Okay.
I tried.
I tried. Yeah, you went pretty mentals and you're still alive. So there's that.
I'm going to give a quick shout out to Jack at Cake Wallet. So thank you, Jack, for sorting me out. I've been using Cake Wallet and Cake Pay, and I managed to fuck that up. But yeah, have a cider for me, Jack. I just said I promised I'd give him a shout out.
Oh, very nice. Well, Jack, I don't think we've met, but thank you for helping out this retard. I do appreciate it.
Seth will make sure Jack's on the next trip to Vegas, yeah? That's what we're going to do for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will after this shout out. Thank you, Jack. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Jack.
All right, mate. Well, I appreciate your knowledge, dropping the knowledge bombs all over the place here. Hopefully people who are listening, especially the older ones, the sort of feeble ones, can take this advice and boost their T levels and growth hormone and everything else. We will answer any questions at the beginning of the next episode.
Cool. Thank you for having me on. Thank you, everyone.
Always a pleasure, never a chore. Quite different to our last one.
Yeah, I know it sounds very contradictory for someone who was last time talking about saying drug use to be talking about health and longevity, but I'm putting drugs into my body and experimenting, so you can sense a theme.
You just love drugs. It doesn't matter whether they're for health or for recreational, just the love of drugs is there.
I'm wizard archetype, I think. I'm definitely the kind of alchemist, mad scientist type, always wanted to be. And that's it. I just experiment on myself and I've loved it. I will say that's my final sign off. I cannot encourage you enough because your body is the car you drive around in. Imagine waking up one day and instead of that shitty Vauxhall Astra, you've got a Porsche 911, right? That's what it's like when your body's on testosterone and growth hormone. You feel better, you look better, you fuck better, women look at you differently. There's an aura when you walk into the room. There is something, that's why it's a little bit addictive. I'll be honest with you, because it's fucking great.
Great sign off. Right, let's all become more ungovernable. Speak to you soon, mate.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed that. If you did enjoy it or you have any questions, please reach out in the Boosts or XMR chat for any questions. Even if you think we're talking shit or you challenge some of what Kerim has said there, then please get in touch and we can dig into it a little bit more. I want to say a big thank you to Kerim for all the research he's done for this episode and to the rest of the team for everything that they do to keep Ungovernable Misfits going. We now have clothing back in the store, ungovernablemisfits.com. If you have any problems with the payments, please let me know. We had a couple of glitches and we're working through those, but just let me know if you have any issues while ordering. I'd love some feedback on the quality of the clothing as well. We have the Pleb Minor collection and the Free Samurai collection. With the Free Samurai stuff, $15 of every order will go directly to supporting them. Please do your bit, and we'll catch you on the next one. Free Samurai.